Okay, the two Z's at the end of the program. That's where we belong. Anyway, get ready for a trip around the United States. Looking at some welcome signs. So let me begin by saying, welcome to Zeigler, Illinois, coal mining town in the southern part of the state. And you're getting the idea, the type of welcome sign we're going to be looking at. I collect all kinds of welcome signs, but I've sieved out the welcome signs with maps on them. So here are three examples. Maps and sometimes cartograms, Nottoway County, Virginia there. I call that a cartogram. It looks like a crescent moon to you, but it's really the Chesapeake Crescent or the Golden Crescent, a name that surfaced briefly about a decade ago and has since disappeared from the map, but they're using it as an identifier. And then some maps on places where they belong, on pole banners and on state welcome signs. And we're saving the state welcome signs until the end of the presentation. So this is the only one that you'll see for a while. And as you're driving around, look for these welcome signs in localities, in counties and states, and various other places too. I have an airport welcome sign that I didn't use for this presentation. So let's start, I guess, with looking at scale relationships. Scale, the locality. It might be a city, like Carter Lake, Iowa, or a township, like South Strabane Township in Pennsylvania. You wouldn't know that was Pennsylvania, but you would know that that was Iowa. And that's one of the decisions that localities have to make as they decide how to welcome visitors and reaffirm their own populations of their identities. Or at the county scale, Atkinson County in Georgia is proud of its shape, and here you get several layers of information on the map, which is a very rare treat. Usually it's an outline. Here you have a road pattern, a town pattern, and a toponymic pattern superimposed on the outline of Atkinson County. Or Batesville. Now, if you pull up Batesville on Google, you'll understand why it doesn't use its own shape, its own map shape, because it's polluted with panhandles and enclaves and exclaves. Far better to reaffirm identity with the home state, Indiana, but using that map once again to associate with a broader geographical context. And in an even broader geographical context, Iroquois County, Illinois, which fancies itself as the buckle of the Sun Belt, that regional identity drawn together in a single county. So we're up to regions. What comes next, geographers? The nations. Okay, so sometimes you will find the United States. It's rare, and you will never find Alaska and Hawaii, maybe if you go there, but most places have not progressed beyond 1959. And you have to look at that cow, and I guess this expands on that first sign because there are other places where you'll find these welcome signs. Murals will bear them sometimes, and so will these fiberglass animals that you see all over the place. So welcome to each one. And then the international scale, as we're building up our scale relationships here, Douglas, Arizona, yes, it does welcome you to Douglas in Arizona with the map, but also a wonderful mural map showing the twin cities here on the border cities of Douglas and Agua Prieta in Mexico, in Sonora State in Mexico. Nicely done with layer upon layer of informative information on those maps. What's next? International next is global, rare, but this is my entire collection of welcome signs with global maps on them. Morehead City's using it for the Sister City program that it's related, that has relationships with. Selma, cleverly, that's in California, proclaiming itself the raisin production capital of the world. And then a thematic map, an actual thematic map, World Walker. That's a World Walker map in Bethel, Ohio, home of the World Walker. Yes, he walked around the world, and if you drop by the town, you will see exactly how he got around the world on his 2 feet. That was from 1983, and when did I take this picture? 2014, so they've been proud of that dude for a long, long time. What's that? I wonder that too, how he got across the oceans. So here we go. Find the maps on those welcome signs. Well, they hide sometimes. They're in the city seals or the township seals that are embedded in the welcome sign, so you have to be attentive to detail if you want to take up this hobby. There's a township map and a map of Florida. Here we go to the county scale, where you have Washington County, Maryland, embedded in the Washington County seal, and Polk County, Georgia, which in the seal has a map of the state of Georgia. So look carefully, because you can find maps on seals and seals on maps. And the middle one here is a seal on a map of Tennessee, Laverne, Tennessee. So look carefully. So once again, maps, some additional county maps here. Jasper County, Salem County, Lewis County. You have to look carefully to see the map of Lewis County lurking behind the letters there, and then Holt County on the pole banner. But don't forget the map-like images. So there's Nottoway County, Virginia once again, and let me say too, this is the emerging market in map welcome signs. The emerging market is water towers. I don't know if you've been watching water towers, but they are blooming like flowers in a garden, carrying all sorts of place promotional messaging. And it's rare to find welcome, place name, and a map on a water tower. And I really don't have any places yet have done that, but Nottoway County comes the closest to it. I expect, however, to see an explosion of activity on the skyline of these small water tower towns. Anyway, Nassawattix is in Virginia. You can see an iconic map there. It's the land between the waters. That's what it means, land between the waters. And it has an idealized version of the Eastern Shore that you saw in Jonathan's presentation, the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Evans, Colorado, is that river a map? It's sort of an oblique image. I call it a map. And I'm giving the presentation, so I get to decide. And then Georgia, another oblique townscape map. Welcome to Hoboken. That's not New Jersey. That is Georgia, Hoboken, Georgia. So enough for maps and map-like images. What about the functions of these welcome signs? Sometimes just to inform. So one of the ways you communicate your location is by giving a place name. Connecticut has a statewide program of presenting you with the place name. But look, the map adds some value to the place name. It reminds you again and again and again and again and again as you travel across Connecticut where you are. You are in Connecticut. It tells you in the shape of the state, and just in case you don't recognize either the shape of the state or where you are, it tells you with letters that you are in the state of Connecticut. So a little bit overstated in one way and understated in another. So function to inform. To mark territory, here Bracken County. Remember, these signs are often, but not always, found at borders where a political boundary intersects a road. Expect a welcome sign. And that is because somebody might be in front of you, like me, pumping on the brakes, and you don't want to hit them. So do expect a welcome sign and an avid photographer. So you don't really need one welcome sign. You need multitudes of welcome signs if you're going to do it right, because every entrance to town needs one. Marking territory. To educate. Now, sometimes maps aren't necessary to education, but when you're trying to communicate the fact that you are the geographic center of the United States or of Illinois, you definitely need a map, and some wise choices here in adding value to the unique quality that makes your place someplace to be respected. So to educate. To orient, here you're orienting West Lebanon, New Hampshire, in its regional setting, and superimposing there an almost directional grid-like symbol to make sure that you got it. You know you've hit the bullseye when you have hit West Lebanon, New Hampshire. Established in 1761, by the way, which is another very common item to find on a welcome sign. How about to make a good first impression? You never get a second chance to make a first impression, and this is how places make their first impressions. They put out what they find the best. So here we have Shoshone, Idaho, using words like magic to inspire you, showing it central to the state, or at least the southern part of the state, and just pridefully presenting what it has to offer. So to make a good first impression. To acclimate, get used to the culture. That's what I mean here, get used to the culture. And if you're here in Randolph County, you have got a world. You see how that grid sort of communicates that worldwide? You've got a world of hunting here ready for you in Randolph County. Not just Illinois, but the worldwide of archers. You see the archer there as well as the gunman. To place promote, place promotion. Oconee County, South Carolina. South Carolina's Golden Corner. How better to communicate that than with the map? And by saying golden in the same sentence with the place name, you got some place promoting going on. Well, maps aren't necessary, but sometimes these signs do enforce rules. So here you see, you can't read them, but all sorts of rules that are associated with entering these places. The do not signs, behave yourself signs, that surround some of these welcome signs. To provide lodging for the genius loci, the spirit of place. Where do the spirits of place live? Did you ever ask yourself that question? I think they find a place to lodge in the welcome signs that we put along our roadsides. And that's a particularly inspiring sign, I think, of the Florida Keys and Florida City in Florida. You know, it puts you in the mood. Right before you cross that first bridge, you leave Florida City and you go for that 4-hour drive, I guess it is, down to Key West. That's what it looks like now, because I was just there. They took the map down. They took the map down. So I don't know where those genius loci or genii loci have gone, but they've found another residence, presumably. Oh yes, there's that map image to brand. Brand yourself as part of Texas. 2 maps of Texas proclaiming 2 firsts here. You find the Texas map very, very frequently on this landscape, just as you find it on the license plate landscape of America, and everywhere else. 2, cultivate pride. Lafayette County, Pennsylvania, to cultivate pride. You have elements of your local history, your local geography, your local culture that you can call upon, both to welcome people, but what this also does, it reaffirms the identity of the people who live here, because remember, the locals are going to pass this sign more than any visitors are. And every time they pass it, they think, well, now I have a good feeling about being a resident of Lafayette County. To celebrate. In this case, to celebrate anniversaries. Can you find the map there? It's used as sort of a thematic element of the 200th anniversary sign. It's a county, Perry County. Yeah, Perry County, Ohio. So to celebrate. To inspire investment. Chambers of commerce are often sponsors or co-sponsors of these welcome signs, and here in Delaware, they're using a map of Delaware to do that. To get in shape. See, they're using the shape. Anyway, that's probably too deep for you. To say hello, okay? I challenge you to find 3 maps on that slide. 3 maps, outline maps of Arizona. Yes, sometimes maps are part of the general clutter, but this is a genre of roadside and welcome signs that I personally find not that appealing. But not only to say hello, but to say goodbye instead of hello. Sometimes they're goodbye signs. So thanks for visiting, says Harrison County, Kentucky. And then on Harrison County, they have a $sign imposed. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know why that $sign is there. I guess they're telling you, thanks for visiting, thanks for leaving some money behind. Yeah, thanks for buying alcohol. That's exactly where you are. You're right, yeah. Okay, a little cartography for the cartographers in here. You know, symbols. If you're examining these maps, look for the symbols, points, lines, and areas. You know, see how each is handled. You'll see some superimposition of additional layers of information. And some interesting symbol handling. And then also what surrounds the map itself on these welcome signs, another avenue of analysis. Words, what kind of words do you get on here? Directions to the business district, or Other promotional elements of verbiage that appear, Lions Club emblems, something of the architectural environment, as in Bluffton, or pull back and see what surrounds the welcome sign in the panhandle of Oklahoma here, Texahoma. Looking at point symbols, you knew I had to get that Zeigler sign in again, didn't you? You knew I wasn't going to let that just ride on the first slide. Okay, so that uses a star to mark Zeigler, Illinois, but we find stars perhaps showing up more than we might expect, because we know when stars should be used, right, cartographers? Only if you're a capital city do you have the right to use a star. So there's Augusta, and there's historic Little Mountain, the new capital of South Carolina, and Atlantic, Iowa, what's Atlantic doing in Iowa anyway? And Dimmitt, Texas, which I guess is the new capital of Texas. And then point symbols, well, stars, if you happen to be in Exmoor on the eastern shore and you've got X in your name, X marks the spot on what? On a treasure map. So you use an X over Exmoor on that eastern shore map. If you're the Pearl, Indiana, again, color help needed. You know, it's not my photography. It is the sign, right? Illinois. It took me a while, but do you see the profile of Lincoln? Took me a while on that one. And then in downtown Chicago, I found a Welcome to Illinois banner. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Missouri, Oklahoma, lots of different welcome signs in Oklahoma. Montana, using the shape of the state. And then, for a little historical geography, here's some throwbacks to another era of welcome signs, when they were simpler and maybe more natural looking than they are now. So, that's my hobby. Next year, I'll expect you to be presenting yours, right? Road trip, time to begin.